Hello, everybody, and welcome to this game review entitled Don't Be Too Greedy. And so, in chess, it's okay to be a little greedy and snatch up material if it gives you an advantage. If you check and you're sure that you'll come out okay, or if your opponent makes a blunder and you just get free material. But I don't recommend getting too greedy, and here's why. In this game, it begins with e4, e5, so normal opening moves, but then d4 is played, the center game. And so here, black captures, going ahead by one pawn. And so this is okay so far. But now we have c3, the Danish gambit. And so in this position, black gets a little greedy and snatches up more material. But if we look at the evaluation, it's still even here. And so this is if white captures. With knight captures on c3, the game would be even. But now bishop to c4 is played. And here, the pawn captures again. And if we look, now black has even gone ahead in the evaluation by 0.3 here. So far being greedy is working out in black's favor, but we're starting to see a pattern here where black has developed no pieces off his back rank, and white has two bishops developed and aimed up at the king side. And so one of the basic strategies in the opening is to develop your pieces as fast as you can. And you don't want to fall behind in development, especially if your opponent is developing all his pieces and you're not developing yours. You can get in trouble quickly, as we'll see here. So now, finally, a piece is developed with bishop to b4 here. And if we look back and see what the computer prefers, it looks like the computer recommends knight to f6 here. But bishop to b4 was played, an attack on the king. And black is still okay here, slightly ahead. And the computer recommends knight to c3, but in this game, knight to d2 is played. And so here, once again, knight to f6 is recommended by the computer to develop another piece and get the black king ready to castle to safety. But now, black plays queen to g5, getting too greedy here. And now the game has swung in white's favor just a little bit by 0.2. So if we look at the material, the pieces are even, but white has 5 pawns to 7 by black. So black's ahead by 2 pawns, but here already white is slightly ahead in the evaluation. Okay, so now after queen to g5, the best move is bishop capturing on f7 is recommended by the computer, but white plays the second best move. Knight to f3 here, attacking the queen. And now this queen, which was covering the d2 knight with the bishop, both the queen and bishop attack here. So this knight moves up to help protect this knight, but also the queen is attacking the g2 pawn and protecting his own g7 pawn from this bishop on b2. So a lot of tactics going on here with with white having sacrificed these pawns. He has a lead in development and a lot of pieces aimed at black here. So the game continued with black getting too greedy here, capturing this pawn, and immediately the evaluation jumps in white's favor here. So now the game continued with rook to g1, attacking the queen. But now we have bishop captures. And what should white do here? So the king is in check. If the queen captures, then the queen will capture this knight and then just be ahead in material. And if the knight captures, well, then the queen will capture here. So the best move and recommended by the computer is king to e2 here, protecting the knight. The queen is still under attack, and so the queen must move away with queen to h3, and now the queen can capture the bishop here. And so we see that white is ahead by plus 3.7, so almost 4 pawns worth of material ahead. But if we look at the actual material on the board, it's pretty crazy. 4 pawns for white against 7 pawns. So black is ahead by 3 pawns, but he just got too greedy and has no pieces developed here. So that will be his downfall. So finally, he develops another piece, this knight to f6. But then bishop captures on f7 here with check. And now we see black is really in trouble here. In the game, king to d8 was played. Now, if the king were to capture this bishop, well, then we just have knight to g5, forking the king and queen, and white would go on to capture the queen and then really be ahead and should win easily. So then another possibility, if we go back, after the bishop captures and checks the king, instead of capturing, another possibility is the king moving to f8. But then bishop to a3 with check is possible. Also, a rook capturing on g7, which I believe that's what the computer wanted. So before I dive into that rook capturing on g7 move, let me go back here. So bishop to a3 with check is possible. And then here, we see that the king is trapped here. He's in check. He can't move. If he captures this bishop, we have the queen and king forked by the knight on g5. So his other option, whenever the king is into check, you have to block, run, or capture the attacker. So he blocks here. And now a possibility is bishop captures with check. And then after the pawn captures, the queen captures. And then the king here would be forced to capture on f7. And then once again, we have this move. The fork with the king and the queen, and white would be winning. And so if we go back, let's see, back to this king to f8 move, the computer, instead of bishop to a3, the computer wants rook captures here. And so, I don't know, I thought this looked like a crazy continuation, but the computer was saying that was best in this position with a plus 10, now plus 9, back up to 10.8. So anyway, white would have the most advantage with this, with this rook capture. So taking a look at this, if the king captured, we would have queen to g5 check, and now the king would be, well, not forced, but if this capture occurred, queen could capture, king to e8. The game may continue in this fashion, and check, and the king would be slowly chased across the board until finally queen to b5 with a checkmate. And so that was a really crazy continuation that was possible. But in the game, let's see here. In the game, after this bishop sacrifice here, well, capture, the king cannot capture the bishop because that fork with the knight here, jumping on g5, forking the king and the queen. And so instead, king to d8 was played in the game. And then the game continued with this rook capturing on g7 move. And then the knight captured here, because now the threat, after that rook captured, the threat was this bishop capturing with a checkmate here on f6. And so I think at this point, black was so far behind and panicked. Even with the best move, it's a mate in 12. If somebody could, that's not a master, could see a 12 move mate. But all in all, black is just in trouble here. And so after knight capturing on e4, which now guards this f6 square, and the queen is being attacked here. Now the queen jumps into here with check, capture of the queen, and now the bishop is able to deliver a mate. And so I hope you enjoyed this example of why it's bad to be too greedy in chess. So don't be too greedy. It's good to capture some material, but before you just grab an extra pawn or go crazy capturing material, make sure you check and be sure you're not going to have a worse game after capturing all this material. And definitely don't let yourself fall way behind in development, especially in the opening. If we go back and look at this real quick, we see after these opening moves, even here, we have 4 pieces developed to just 2. And then now the rook is developed. And after the queen moves, the queen is developed. So now it's even worse. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 pieces developed, and black just has 1 out here. So a huge advantage, and we see a +3 advantage to white, even though he is behind here by 3 pawns. So I don't know, I thought that was a pretty impressive demonstration here of how development, being faster and developing quicker than your opponent, and taking advantage of them when they are too greedy and try and just capture too much material, or material at the expense of developing their own pieces. Well, I hope you've enjoyed this little game demonstration here. And if you've enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe, and feel free to leave comments about this game or anything else, and any suggestions you have as well. Thank you, and have a great day.